A few weeks ago, I went on a solo road trip to the Pacific Northwest. I'm 32, and usually escape the busy city by hiking on weekends. I thought a real getaway would be nice, so I packed my car and hit the road. The drive started peacefully, with the late afternoon sun warming my face and the tall trees making me feel small. But soon, I came to a fork in the road. There was a weathered sign, but I couldn't read it well. I chose the left path. Right then a chill ran through me, but I brushed it off. My GPS lost signal, which was common in that area, so I didn't worry too much. As I drove on, the strange things began. I passed an abandoned gas station that I didn't remember seeing before. My heart raced, but I kept driving. I heard faint voices from the woods. Turning the radio down, I strained to listen. I thought I heard someone calling my name. It felt odd, but I kept going. Hours went by and the road twisted more than I could count. I saw figures on the side of the road. Sometimes they waved and then they blurred out of sight. Other times they stood still, staring at me with blank expressions. Each time, my stomach twisted tighter. Was I losing it? I finally reached a scenic overlook. It looked familiar, but the view was wrong. Mountains twisted in weird shapes and the sky turned a sickly yellow. I got out of the car, feeling cold air hit me like a wave. Was this place real? I wished I had turned back earlier. As I tried to find the signs to lead me back, nothing matched. I felt deeply unsettled. The trees grew taller, casting long shadows toward me. I wanted to run back to the car, but something held my feet in place. It was as if the woods were calling me with a strange pull. Then I heard it again. A voice, clearer this time, it whispered my name coming from deep in the woods. It felt inviting and terrifying all at once. I stepped back, but I felt drawn to it. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice shaky. Silence surrounded me. I turned to run back to my car, but everything vanished. The trees, the view, gone. An empty, foggy landscape replaced it, and panic set in. I stood there, shaking. What had I gotten into? Who was calling to me? I was completely lost. The feeling of dread intensified, and I didn't know which way to turn. I felt trapped in this puzzling place where nothing was as it seemed. The fear gripped me as I realized I might be stuck forever. Who or what had lured me in? I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. My heart raced, and my palms were sweaty as I scanned the misty void around me. I felt exposed and vulnerable, as if the fog itself contained eyes watching me. Not knowing which way to go, I chose to head straight ahead. With every step I took, the ground felt squishy and damp beneath my shoes. It was uncomfortable, like walking through a sponge. I wanted to call out again, but I feared that voice would answer. I needed to get out of this desolate landscape. Dragging myself through the haze, I spotted an outline in the distance. It flickered in and out of focus, like a faulty projection. I quickened my pace, and as I got closer, I realized it was an old cabin. The wood was rotting, the windows shattered. It felt like a scene from a horror movie, but I felt drawn to it. I approached the door, half expecting it to swing open and reveal whatever lurked inside. Instead, it was ajar, creaking softly in the chilling breeze. I pushed it open just enough to peek inside. Shadows danced along the walls, making the place look alive. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach again, but curiosity urged me to enter. Inside, the air was thick and smelled like mold. Broken furniture lay strewn about, and the sun's rays barely pierced the gloom. I stepped carefully, my shoes crunching on shards of glass. There was a large wooden table in the center, and something glimmering caught my eye. I moved closer and saw it was a small, twisted pendant, shimmering in dark hues. Then I heard it again, my name echoing from the back room of the cabin. This time it was louder, more insistent. My first instinct was to run, but I was paralyzed. It felt like a spell had been cast on me. I couldn't tear my gaze away from the pendant. Something about it felt important, like it held the answers I was desperate for. I grabbed it, and the moment I did, a spark shot through my fingers. A jolt of energy surged up my arm. The whispering ceased, leaving me in a heavy silence. I turned the pendant over in my palm, feeling an unsettling warmth radiate from it. almost like a heartbeat. Suddenly I heard footsteps behind me, a soft shuffling. I spun around, clutching the pendant tightly. There, standing in the doorway, was a figure shrouded in shadows. My breath caught in my throat. "Help me," the figure spoke, but the voice was different. It was no longer a whisper, but an urgent plea. I could barely make out the outline of a face. Those features, were they familiar? I felt a surge of panic. Was this another trap? Was I supposed to help this stranger, or was it a trick? I didn't have time to think about what to do next. The air shifted, darkening. Then everything went dark. I blinked, trying to force my eyes to adjust to the darkness, but nothing changed. The weight of the silence pressed down on me, and I felt the cold creep into my bones. I was completely disoriented, the cabin now a distant memory in the inky void. "Hello?" I called out, my voice wavering. It echoed into the emptiness, swallowed instantly. There was no answer, only the sound of my heart thumping in my chest. Then abruptly a flicker of light pierced the darkness, illuminating the figure in the doorway. It was there again, but this time I could see it clearer. The figure was still cloaked in shadow, but I recognized the outline now. Long hair, familiar features. "Why can't you see me?" It pleaded, a tremor in its voice. I stepped forward, my fear mingling with something else. Recognition. Could it be possible? Was this someone I knew? "Who are you?" I asked, trying to remain steady. The figure faltered. "You need to help me before it's too late. The pendant. It's both a key and a curse." Before I could ask what that meant, the light flickered again, and shadows danced in a chaotic swirl. I felt pulled toward the figure, an irresistible connection making me take another step forward. My fingers tightened around the pendant, which was now hot against my palm. Then without warning, the light vanished. I stumbled back, disoriented, feeling the damp ground give way beneath me. I gasped as I fell, landing on a soft surface that felt strangely familiar. I blinked, and suddenly I was outside, surrounded by tall, overgrown grass. I quickly scrambled to my feet, heart racing. I was no longer inside the cabin. In fact, I wasn't even close to it. The mist lingered around me, but regular sunlight broke through the layers, creating eerie shadows. I turned around, searching for any trace of the cabin or the figure, but nothing was there. That's when I noticed a path winding through the grass, overgrown yet distinguishable. An instinct urged me to follow it, each step closer to unearthing the mystery. Every strand of grass brushed against my legs like a whisper of warning, but I pushed it aside and moved forward. The path led me deeper into the fog, where the air grew thicker. I heard a low murmur behind me. Was it someone calling my name again? Gritting my teeth, I ignored it and pressed onward, adrenaline rushing through my veins. Suddenly, a chilling laugh erupted from the mist, sending a shiver down my spine. It echoed around me, mocking. "You can't run from your fate." The air crackled with energy, and I glanced back, my heart pounding. The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence that made my skin crawl. I quickened my pace along the path, desperate to escape. I didn't want to be ensnared by whatever was waiting for me in this unknown territory. "I have to find a way out," I muttered to myself, feeling the weight of uncertainty settle in. Each step felt crucial, but somehow, I sensed the reality I was racing away from was about to catch up with me. Then, without warning, the ground beneath me started to tremble. I stumbled, and fear gripped me again. Something was coming, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to face it. I steadied myself, desperate to regain my balance as the ground quaked. My heart raced, and I struggled to assess the situation. The earth felt like it was alive, shifting and vibrating beneath my feet. I couldn't see what was causing it, but a primal instinct urged me to move. I turned again, scanning the fog for anything that could give me a clue. That's when I saw it, a glint of metal half buried in the grass beside the path. I hesitated, glancing back toward the tremors echoing through the ground. Should I investigate, or keep running? Against my better judgment, I hurried toward the metal object. I knelt down, my fingers brushing away the dirt and grass. It was a key, old and rusted, yet somehow striking. The pendants I had encountered before flickered through my mind. Could this key be linked to the figure in the darkness? Just as I grasped the key, a loud crack split the air. I jerked my head up, startled. The noise had come from behind me where the laughter had erupted moments ago. My pulse quickened again. I had to decide, stay and investigate the noise or sprint on to whatever lay ahead. Before I could make a choice, more sounds broke the silence, creaking, like wood bending under pressure. It came from all around me. I slowly turned, trying to face the noise head-on, but the mist wrapped tighter around me. Panic threatened to push me over the edge, as I caught a shadow skirting through the grass just outside the reach of the sunlight. "Who's there?" I shouted, voice strained. The laughter responded, bouncing off the surrounding gloom. The shadow flickered and then vanished like smoke. "Show yourself." The last word hung in the still air. Whatever was hiding beyond the veil of mist seemed to pause, as though considering how to answer. My breath came out in short bursts. I could feel the key hot in my palm, urging me to take action. Finally, the spinning silhouette took shape. It was the figure from before, stepping into the sunlight. Relief washed over me but soon faded when I saw its expression. It was one of desperation. "You found it!" it exclaimed, eyes wide. "But I don't understand," I gasped, clutching the key. "What does it unlock?" "The portal," it said, urgency lacing its voice. "But you need to hurry. It's only open for a moment. If you don't use it, everything will be lost." Before I could process what this meant, the ground shook again, this time stronger. The figure's eyes widened even more. "You have to choose. Use the key, or face the consequences." My mind raced. I had no idea what would happen if I opened this portal, or what lay ahead. The cold fingers of dread tightened around my heart. But before I could think of my next move, the tremors ratcheted up, and a bone-chilling howl erupted from the depths of the fog. I dashed forward, heart thudding hard against my ribs. I could no longer ignore that something was coming. As I sprinted toward the path forged in mystery, I clutched the key tightly against my chest. Would it be my salvation, or my undoing? My fate hung in the air, and the shadowy figure followed close behind. I pushed onward, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Each step felt heavier as the ground shuddered beneath me. The figure followed, glancing back nervously at the fog, as if it were alive and aware of our presence. "What's after us?" I panted, adrenaline amplifying my fear. "It's what's been set loose," the figure said. "There are forces that shouldn't be disturbed. They've been waiting, and now they're hungry." A growl echoed from behind us, low and guttural. I didn't dare look back. I could only focus on the path ahead. The key in my hand felt like a lifeline. I needed to find the portal it was meant to unlock, but I had no idea where to search. The ground buckled one last time, sending us both tumbling to the earth. I caught myself on my hands, dirt and grass sticking to my palms. "Get up," I urged, scrambling to my feet. The figure nodded but froze, staring ahead. I was about to ask what was wrong when I saw it too, a shimmering light cutting through the fog far down the path. It pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing me in. But who knew what lurked in the shadows surrounding it? "Is that it?" I pointed, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes, that's the portal," it exclaimed, sprinting towards the light. But the howl grew louder, and something shifted in the mist. I heard the crunch of twigs and the rustle of underbrush. I hesitated, fear gripping my chest. Could we make it there before whatever was chasing us caught up? "Move!" the figure urged, urgency biting into its voice. I didn't need to be told twice. We raced ahead, heart pounding, the light calling to us like a siren. I ran faster, feeling a strange pull toward the glow. My focus narrowed as the portal's shape became clearer, a small archway framed with twisting vines. The way it flickered reminded me of my childhood tales of fairy gates. But the tales never included what lies beyond. "Almost there," I shouted, pushing myself harder. Suddenly a shadow lunged from the fog, a flash of teeth and snarling fury. I stumbled back, heart racing. "What is that?" I screamed, frozen in place. "The key!" my companion yelled. In my panic, I almost dropped it. The creature halted, muscles tensed as though it could sense my fear. It glared at us with glowing eyes, waiting for the moment to strike. "Just hold on to it, we don't have time," the figure shouted, desperation blending with menace. I clutched the key tighter, looking at the portal and then back at the snarling beast. Would the key truly protect us? The glowing portal shimmered enticingly, yet a part of me wanted to retreat. Who knew what it would unleash? We dashed to the archway, the creature hot on our heels, reality dissolving into a mix of light and dark. My heart hammered wildly. I had to use the key, now or never. Just as we reached the threshold, the creature lunged again, and everything went white. When the light faded, I found myself sprawled on the cold, hard ground. My surroundings were unfamiliar, yet the ground felt solid under me. I pushed myself up, looking around. A dense forest surrounded us, but the fog was gone. Everything felt eerily still. "What just happened?" I gasped, still catching my breath. Was I dreaming? Was it even possible that we escaped that creature? I glanced over to my companion, who looked just as bewildered. "I don't know," it replied, shaking its head. "But we're not safe yet." I turned to the archway we had just crossed through. It shimmered faintly, but now it looked like a mirage, one that could disappear at any moment. The memory of that beast sprinting toward us was distant but vivid in my mind. "Can we go back?" I asked, panic rising within me. I didn't want to face the unknown, but I felt the pressure of what was behind us, of what had been unleashed. What if it comes through? "We can't," my companion said urgently. "That's not how it works. We must move forward." I struggled to process that. Where did we even land? The forest was thick, with twisted trees and thick underbrush. It didn't resemble the world we had just escaped. My heart raced again, not with fear of the creature, but with the fear of being lost. Suddenly I heard a crackling sound nearby. My instincts kicked in, and I crouched low, pulling my companion down with me. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. "Yes, but I don't know what it is," it replied, its eyes darting around nervously. The sound grew louder, more insistent. I could make out voices, lower and urgent. Whoever was out there, they didn't seem friendly. "Should we go the other way?" I suggested, my voice trembling. "No," my companion said firmly. "We need to see who it is. We might not be alone." With every cautious step, I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. As we crept toward the sound, I caught glimpses of figures moving through the trees. They wore dark cloaks that obscured their features. The sight sent a chill crawling up my spine. What were they doing here? Then I spotted something shiny near their feet. I squinted, realizing it was a small silver key. My heart dropped. It looked just like mine, only bigger. "That's not possible," I murmured, frozen in place. "What do you mean?" my companion asked. "If they have a key, then—" I faltered, remembering the creature. What if it wasn't just after us? What if it was attracted to the key's power? "Look out!" my companion shouted, pointing behind us. I whipped around just in time to see that same shadowy creature from before emerge from the trees. It was faster than I could react. My blood ran cold, and my entire body tensed in fear. "Run!" I yelled, taking off in the opposite direction, and my feet barely touched the ground as we dashed away. As I fled, I wondered, what lay ahead in this forest, and would running lead us to salvation or deeper danger? I sprinted through the trees, dodging branches that clawed at me like the creature we had narrowly escaped. My panic surged, but I tried to focus on what lay ahead. The shadows moved among the trunks, making it hard to see where I was going, and the forest seemed to whisper secrets I couldn't understand. "Do you see anything?" I gasped, glancing back to my companion. "Just keep running," it urged, its voice shaky but determined. We burst into a small clearing, the sunlight breaking through the canopy in patches. I skidded to a halt, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My heart pounded as I turned around, searching for any sign of the creature. "Where did it go?" I whispered, the silence wrapping around us like a blanket. But before I could even catch my breath, my eyes caught sight of something. There, half buried in the ground, lay an old rusted sign. I stomped over to it, my curiosity overpowering the threat behind us. It read, "Beware. Path leads to chaos." "What does that mean?" my companion asked, looking more nervous than ever. "I don't know," I admitted, shaking my head. "But we didn't just happen upon this place. There must be something to this forest, a reason we're here." As I pressed on, I felt an uneasy weight in my stomach. Each step felt deliberate, as if the ground itself was trying to pull me back. I glanced at the key around my neck, the one I had thought was just a simple trinket until now. It seemed to thrum with energy, as if it knew something I didn't. Suddenly, a low growl rumbled through the clearing, and I froze. The creature was back, its form blending into the shadows. It watched us, its hungry gaze fixed on the key. "Come on," my companion shouted, tugging at my arm. In an instant I followed, our feet pounding against the damp earth. We veered into another thicket, hoping to lose it among the dense foliage. As we ran, the growls morphed into a mixture of snickers and whispers from unseen mouths. "What are they saying?" I huffed out, straining to listen. "Something about the key," my companion replied, eyes wide. "They want it." My heart sank. Why would they want the key? "I don't know," it panted, glancing back nervously. "But we need to keep going. There might be a way out." My mind raced, grappling for answers as we ventured deeper into the labyrinth of trees. Each twist and turn felt more unsettling than the last, and the feeling of being watched grew stronger. Then we stumbled into another clearing, much larger, with ancient stones arranged in a circle at its center. "What is this place?" I murmured, feeling drawn to the stones. Each one bore strange markings, pulsating softly. "Maybe it's a shrine?" my companion suggested, moving closer. As I examined them, I noticed something carved near the base of one stone, a symbol identical to the key's design. A jolt of realization hit me. This key was connected to this shrine. It might unlock whatever purpose this forest held. But before I could say anything, shadows flickered at the edge of the clearing, and the growling returned, louder and closer. The creature was almost upon us, and I knew we wouldn't have much time. "Here!" I shouted, gripping the key tightly. "We have to try it." I stepped toward the stone with the symbol, uncertainty gripping my heart. That's when I saw it, a glimmer of light shooting up from the ground. "Now or never," I breathed, holding the key above the symbol. As I turned it, everything went dark. The darkness engulfed me completely, stealing away my senses. The last sound I heard was the creature's growl, echoing as though I had been thrust into a pit of silence. I knew I was still standing, key in hand, but it felt as if time had frozen. I blinked, and suddenly I was no longer in the clearing. I crouched low in a dimly lit corridor, the air thick with an indescribable scent that made my stomach churn. My companion was beside me, looking just as bewildered. "Where are we?" it whispered, eyes wide with fear. "I have no idea," I replied, trying to steady my racing heart. The walls around us were made of stone, similar to the ones in the clearing, but they were ancient and worn, like they had been forgotten for centuries. Flickering torches lined the walls, casting eerie shadows that danced and warped. Before I could take in more of my surroundings, a loud crash echoed down the corridor. We both flinched, instinctively huddling closer together. "Is that the creature?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Maybe. We need to move," my companion urged, glancing back the way we had come, paranoia creeping onto its face. With every step, the walls seemed to close in on us. I could feel a heavy sense of dread building, as if something was lurking just out of sight. I cursed the key around my neck. It had led us down this dark path. Hadn't we had enough chaos already? Then we reached an intersection. The corridor split into 3 paths, each looking equally foreboding. "Which way?" my companion asked, anxiety making its voice tremble. "I don't know," I said, "but I think that symbol on the stone was a clue." I looked at the key, willing it to guide me. It felt warm against my skin, vibrating slightly as though responding to my thoughts. I took a deep breath and chose the left path. We pushed forward, hoping for anything other than more darkness. As we walked, whispers floated through the air, soft and unintelligible. It sounded like 1,000 voices speaking at once. "What's that?" my companion asked, voice tight with fear. "Voices," I said, straining to hear, "but I can't make them out." My heart raced. I glanced back, ready to run if need be. The corridor opened into a larger chamber, and my breath caught in my throat. On the far wall was an enormous mural of the same symbol from the shrine, a massive depiction of the key interwoven with serpents and skulls. It was a warning. "Do you see that?" I said, pointing. "It looks like a warning." "Yeah, but what does it mean?" my companion asked, stepping closer, captivated. As if in response, the air grew colder, and the whispers intensified, swirling into a chaotic chorus. I grabbed my companion's arm, pulling it back. We shouldn't get too close. But before we could react, there was a sudden rush of wind, and the mural shimmered. The whispers turned into a cacophony, and then I saw it, a figure step out from the wall. It was cloaked in shadows, its face obscured but radiating an otherworldly glow. The figure raised a hand, and the chamber echoed with a sound that felt like a pulse, thumping beneath our feet. "Who dares disturb the chaos?" It boomed, its voice vibrating through me. I froze, fear coursing through my veins. I didn't have answers, and panic flared. "We came here accidentally," I shouted, desperate. "Accident may not save you," the figure intoned, its gaze boring into me. "What do you want?" I asked, voice shaking. As it opened its mouth to reply, the shadows lunged from all sides. I lost my grip on the key, and it clattered to the ground, the light from the mural flashing wildly. That's when something deep inside me shifted. A realization struck as I fought to breathe, an understanding of the truth hidden within the woods. But before I could gather my thoughts, darkness reclaimed the chamber. I screamed. I fell into the void. My scream echoed, swallowed by the darkness. I braced for impact, but instead of hitting the ground, I landed softly as if the air itself cushioned me. When I opened my eyes, I was back in the corridor, but it felt different. Shadows loomed thicker, swirling in angry patterns around me. "Are you okay?" my companion asked, its voice shaky. "I think so," I mumbled, still in disbelief. The mural was gone. In its place, a door appeared at the end of the corridor, worn and ancient. Rust barked along the edges, and it looked like it hadn't been opened in ages. A sense of foreboding washed over me. "Should we check it out?" my companion suggested, peering at the door with curiosity. I nodded, despite the unease gnawing at my insides. We approached cautiously, the key now cold against my skin, as if warning me to turn back. Every step felt deliberate, like we were walking deeper into a snare. Just as we reached the door, it creaked open with a groan that sent chills down my spine. Inside was a small room bathed in dim light, illuminated by candles that flickered with no visible breeze. At the center stood a pedestal, and upon it rested an object, a key. "It looks like a second key," I said, feeling a strange pull toward it. "Should we take it?" my companion asked, visibly nervous. "What if it has more power than the one we already have?" I said, my instincts screaming at me to be careful. But the other key seemed to pulse with energy, almost calling out. As I reached for it, the ground shook, the chamber rumbled, and the walls began to close in. I stumbled back, almost falling. "We need to get out of here." But before I could turn back, the door slammed shut. Panic surged through me. I rushed to it, but it wouldn't budge. "What now?" my companion asked, voice rising in pitch. "Maybe we should just try the other key." I hesitated, looking back at the pedestal. "It might be our only way out." "Are you sure?" My companion hesitated, glancing at the flickering candles. "Do we have a choice?" I replied, frustration brewing. "Fine, let's do it." I grasped the first key, its warmth returning as if it recognized me. I turned back toward the pedestal and pressed the key against its surface. The room trembled again, but this time it felt like a release, like a dam giving way. Suddenly, the pedestal ignited in a burst of light, illuminating the room in blinding brilliance. The candles hungered for the glow, flickering in response. The walls expanded, and I felt a pull, like being swept downstream. Then everything went dark again, but I wasn't alone this time. Something darker lurked beside us, a shadow, formed from the very essence of the gloom. We were not just trapped, we were being hunted. I caught my breath, feeling terror take root. "What is that?" I gasped, pointing to the writhing darkness. My companion's eyes widened in horror. "I think it came from the mural." Before I could respond, the shadow lunged forward, and I knew then that we had lost control. My heart raced as the darkness closed in, suffocating, hungry for everything. I had to fight back. I had to find a way out. And more importantly, I needed to discover the truth of the keys. I couldn't let this be the end. Just as I gathered my courage, a flicker of light returned, swirling in front of me like a beacon. "Get ready," I shouted. "We're moving." But where to? The shadows converged, and we had to choose quickly, or darkness would consume us once and for all. The darkness released its stranglehold, and the flickering light surged forward, drawing me closer. I had no idea where it would lead, but as the shadows roared behind us, I followed without thinking. My heart raced wildly. The light twisted and turned, guiding us through narrow passages and wide chambers, illuminating moments of terror frozen in the walls. Unspeakable horrors that reminded me of the figure that had once shimmered before me. "Keep moving," my companion yelled, the urgency in its voice urging me onward. We pressed through the corridors, the faint whispers of the beast behind us fading slightly, replaced by the frantic echoes of our footsteps. I realized the light was revealing symbols carved into the stone walls, symbols that matched the key I had found. Suddenly, the hallway opened, expanding into a larger room filled with a blinding white light. I squinted against the radiance, momentarily disoriented. As I regained my bearings, I saw something incredible. A grand archway, adorned with intricate carvings that shimmered with warmth. It looked like the portal, but something felt different about it. "This must be it," I shouted, excitement causing my voice to tremble. "The way out." "Yes, but we have to act fast," my companion urged, glancing over its shoulder. The sound of our pursuer grew louder, a haunting growl filling the air. I stepped forward, the key clutched tightly in my palm. Did I dare to hope that this portal would unlock my escape? Would it really lead us to safety, or was it merely another trick of fate? I approached the archway, drawn by instinct and desperation. "Do you think it will work?" I asked, uncertain. "It has to," my companion replied, standing beside me. "We've come too far to turn back now." With trembling hands, I raised the key to the archway, feeling its warmth flood through me. The moment the metal touched the stone, the entire room vibrated with energy. A pulse resonated through the air, matching the rapid beat of my heart. "I don't know what's happening," I yelled, fear twisting in my gut. But the archway responded, glowing brighter, filling the room with warmth and light. Then, out of nowhere, the growl erupted again, louder and more furious. The shadows converged at the entrance of the chamber, a swirling darkness battering against the light surrounding us. The creature emerged, its glowing eyes locked onto me, fury boiling in its core. "Now!" I shouted as a sudden surge of energy swept through the archway. The air crackled with tension, and I could feel the darkness pushing back against me. I realized that the key was more than a pathway. It held true power. With all my strength, I thrust the key forward, and the archway erupted into blinding light. In an instant, I was enveloped in warmth. The world shifted, blurring at the edges, then sharpened to diamond clarity. I stumbled out of the portal, landing on solid ground. It was a grassy field, untouched and pristine, the sun warming my skin. "You did it!" my companion shouted, rushing out behind me. "We're free? Is it really over?" I gasped, scanning our surroundings. The trees were healthy, the sky clear. There was no sign of the darkness nor the creature that had chased us. I turned back towards the portal, still swirling softly in the warmth of the sun. My heart ached, a combination of relief and the weight of uncertainty. What had we left behind? What did the portal really unlock? And what was the true nature of that creature? But I couldn't linger on those thoughts. A creeping feeling nagged at me, urging me to move away from the intimidating portal. I took a deep breath and pushed aside the unease. "It feels good to be out," I said, though doubt curled in my chest. "Do you think it could come back?" my companion asked, looking at me with wide eyes. I don't know," I admitted, glancing over my shoulder one last time. The shadows were receding, fading into nothingness, but in the back of my mind, the question lurked. Had we truly escaped, or was our fate merely postponed? With that lingering question, I turned away from the field and headed into the embrace of the trees. Whatever lay ahead, I resolved to find answers, embracing the unknown. As I walked forward, I carried the weight of the key held tightly around my neck, understanding that no matter how far I ran, its power would always cast a shadow over my path. I hoped that my path wouldn't lead me back to that chaos, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it might. And for the first time in a long while, I felt truly aware of the complexity of the world around me. The peaceful sun of the open sky might hide layers of darkness yet to unveil themselves. I moved on, knowing this was only the beginning.